Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was born on October 29, 1938, in Monrovia, the capital city of Liberia, a small country on the west coast of Africa. Her family was not extremely rich or extremely poor. Her father worked in the legislature, and her mother had been a housemaid before becoming a market woman. Their home was modest, but it was full of dignity, strong values, and hope. Growing up, Ellen could see both sides of life. On one hand, the struggles of ordinary people in the streets and markets. On the other hand, the formal world of politics and government offices. This early mix of experiences shaped her understanding of how power works and what it should be used for as a young girl. Ellen attended the College of West Africa, a respected school in Monrovia. She was intelligent and curious, but also a normal teenager, with the usual mix of dreams and doubts. At the age of 17, she married James Sirleaf and soon became a mother to 4 sons. In those early years, her life seemed to follow a traditional path: wife, mother, homemaker. But inside, her ambition was growing quietly. She wanted education, independence, and the chance to help her country. She loved her family. Yet she also felt a strong calling to step into classrooms, libraries, and offices where big decisions were made. In the early 1960s, Ellen got a chance that would change her life. She and her husband traveled to the United States so she could continue her studies. She attended Madison Business College in Wisconsin, learning accounting and business skills. Later, she studied economics at the University of Colorado and then went on to Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government, where she completed a master's degree in public administration. For a woman from a small African nation in that time period, studying at such institutions required courage, focus, and sacrifice. She had to balance studies, motherhood, and living far from home. But she refused to let any of these challenges stop her. After finishing her education, Ellen returned to Liberia and joined the Ministry of Finance. She began at a lower level, but her talent and discipline quickly became visible. She worked long hours studying budgets, revenues, and debts. Her way of speaking was direct. She wanted public money to be spent on schools, roads, and hospitals, not on the luxuries of a few. She rose through the ranks and eventually became Minister of Finance. In meetings with presidents, ministers, and foreign investors, she was often the only woman in the room, but she did not let that intimidate her. Her knowledge and honesty commanded respect. In 1980, Liberia's history took a dramatic turn when a military coup overthrew and killed President William Tolbert. Many officials were arrested or executed. The country entered a dark period of dictatorship and instability. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's position in government made her a target. Fearing for her safety, she left Liberia and went into exile. She worked abroad in international finance, including positions at the World Bank and large private banks. These jobs gave her a deeper understanding of global economics, but her heart remained connected to Liberia. While sitting in office buildings far from home, she kept thinking about her country's suffering and how it could be rebuilt. Even in exile, Ellen spoke out against corruption and dictatorship in Liberia. She returned home in 1985 and tried to participate in politics, speaking openly against the ruling military regime. Her words were bold, and the government did not like them. She was arrested and sentenced to prison, facing the real danger of punishment just for telling the truth. International pressure eventually led to her release, but her time behind bars left a deep mark. For some people, prison would have meant the end of their political journey. For Ellen, it became another source of strength. She had paid a price for her beliefs, and she was still ready to continue. Liberia soon descended into a brutal civil war. Different warlords fought for power, and ordinary people suffered the most. Villages were destroyed, families were broken, and thousands died or fled. Ellen spent periods of these years outside Liberia again, but she never stopped working for democracy and peace. She supported movements that called for free elections and an end to violence. In 1997, after years of conflict, Liberia held elections. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf ran for president against Charles Taylor, a powerful former warlord. The atmosphere was tense and fearful. Taylor won the election, but Elon's second-place finish showed that many people trusted her vision. Taylor's rule did not bring lasting peace. Liberia remained unstable and violent, and international pressure on his government increased. Eventually, under pressure from both inside and outside the country, Charles Taylor stepped down and left Liberia. A transitional government was formed to guide the country toward peace and new elections. During this time, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf continued to play an important role in advising, negotiating, and helping prepare the ground for democratic change. She had spent decades moving between exile and home. Finance and politics, danger and hope, but she did not give up in 2005. Liberia held another presidential election, this time in a more open and hopeful environment. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf ran again, this time as the candidate of the Unity Party. Her main opponent was George Weah, a beloved international football star. Many observers wondered which vision the people would choose, famous athlete, or the experienced but older woman who talked about reforms, education, and fighting corruption. In the end, Liberians voted for Ellen. After 2 rounds of voting, she won the presidency and became the first elected female head of state in Africa. For women across the continent and the world, it was a historic moment. When she took office in January 2006, Liberia was a broken country. Years of civil war had destroyed roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals. Many children had grown up knowing only conflict. Former child soldiers carried emotional scars. There was little trust in government, and corruption had deep roots. Ellen stood in front of this wounded nation and promised to rebuild. She declared that there would be zero tolerance for corruption. She traveled to different parts of the country, listening to people's problems and reminding them that rebuilding Liberia would take time, effort, and unity. Her government focused on several key goals: restoring basic services, reducing the heavy foreign debt, and improving the lives of ordinary citizens. Through negotiations and international support, she successfully secured major debt relief, which allowed more of Liberia's resources to be used for development instead of paying old loans. Her administration worked on repairing infrastructure, supporting agriculture, and encouraging foreign investment. She gave special attention to education, especially for girls, because she believed that a country could not rise if half of its population was left behind. One of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's defining qualities was her belief in women's leadership. She appointed women to important positions in her government, including the ministries of finance, commerce, and justice. She supported programs that helped women start businesses, join politics, and get an education. Her own story was proof that a woman could lead a nation and stand strong in front of warlords, diplomats, and presidents. She became known as the Iron Lady of Africa, not because she was harsh, but because she refused to bend in front of corruption, fear, or pressure. In 2011, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf received the Nobel Peace Prize along with 2 other brave women, Lema Jaboy from Liberia and Towako, Carmen from Yemen. The prize honored their nonviolent struggle for the safety of women and their right to participate fully in peace building. For Ellen, the Nobel Prize was not just a personal award. It was a message to all women in conflict zones that their voices matter, that their leadership matters, and that peace cannot be built if women are excluded from the table. Her presidency also faced criticism and challenges. Some people felt that corruption still existed at lower levels of government. Others thought that change was too slow, especially for young people who wanted quick jobs and opportunities. Liberia was also hit by a serious Ebola epidemic in 2014, which killed many people and damaged the economy. Under Ellen's leadership, with help from health workers and international partners, Liberia eventually brought the outbreak under control. These difficulties reminded everyone that even strong leaders cannot fix everything at once, but they can guide their nation through storms with courage and persistence. After serving 2 terms as president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf stepped down in 2018, respecting the constitutional limit on presidential terms. Power passed peacefully to the next elected president, marking the first democratic transfer of power in Liberia in many decades. This peaceful handover was one of her greatest achievements. It showed that real leadership is not only about winning power, but also about knowing when to let go and allow democracy to continue without you. Today, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is remembered as a trailblazer, Africa's first elected woman president. a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and a powerful voice for democracy and women's rights. She continues to work with international organizations, mentoring young leaders and speaking about good governance, integrity, and development. She reminds the world that a woman who once walked the streets of a small African capital, balancing family life and studies, can one day sit among global leaders and help shape history. For your viewers, the story of riches in her life is not about money or luxury. It is about resilience, education, and moral courage. She faced dictatorship, prison, exile, war, and disease, yet she remained committed to her country. She proves that real riches are found in the strength to stand up after every fall, in the choice to speak truth when silence would be safer, and in the decision to use knowledge and power to lift others instead of only lifting yourself. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's journey from a war-torn Liberia to the presidency shows that even in the darkest times, hope and hard work can rebuild nations and inspire generations.